If you ever looked for a remarkable story in the anime world with authentic storytelling that could leave you with a strong emotional impact, there must have been at least one time you heard of Violet Evergarden. Being one of the best productions made by Kyoto Animation Studio, with its touching themes and heartbreaking events, Violet Evergarden has gained more and more appreciation in the anime community, becoming one of the most acclaimed series of all time. For those who don't know this work, it's a story about an introspective journey where Violet, a former child soldier, embarks on a path of self-discovery to understand the meaning of love. She becomes a professional letter writer and finds herself exploring the human emotions through the letters that she has to write for the others. At the end, she changes from being someone emotionally detached to someone finally capable of feeling and understanding emotions. Not gonna lie, it truly is one of the stories that deeply shape your soul and whose messages will resonate in your mind forever. Each episode is an emotional burden that strongly overwhelms you, and if by the end of the series you haven't shed a single tear, either the story isn't meant for you, or you have a very impressive control over your reactions. What if I told you that the anime of Violet Evergarden is actually an adaptation of a previous homonymous light novel that has never seen any sun other than that of Japan? Because of KyoAni's own label policy, their works are only published domestically for the Japanese market and never translate for overseas, which is truly a shame, because I'm sure the work would have been warmly welcomed here. From the pen of Kana Akatsuki, a mysterious writer from Hokkaido, with illustrations by Akiko Takase, Violet Evergarden has written an indelible page in Japanese entertainment, winning the grand prize at the 5th KyoAni Awards in 2014, selling more than 3 million copies, and leaving precious memories and teachings in the mind of everyone who had the luck to come across it. But here I have a great news for you. Kana Akatsuki has come back with another story that will thrill you as much as Violet Evergarden did. And the best part is, it's getting an anime adaptation. One of the most amazing things of the world we live in is the periodic cycle of the seasons, which has continued perpetually for millennia and still continues in our times where climate change is a global challenge. This harmonious alternation has always fascinated the human soul and is so closely linked to our lives that it has become an important reference for measuring time and organizing society's activities. If you ever wondered how such a unique event is possible, fortunately, we live in an age where the underlying mechanisms are almost basic knowledge. But this wasn't the same for our ancestors, who believed the seasons were the result of mythological happenings, divine interventions, or astronomical phenomena without having a modern scientific understanding of them. And today, some people still love to fantasize about all of this, one of them being Kana Akatsuki herself. Kana Akatsuki has always found some phenomena mysterious, making her asking, why does the moon chase me and why do the seasons change? But rather than seeking for a scientific basis, she took pleasure in imaging them in a fantasy world. Furthermore, she stated that she always wanted to create something that had similar elements to the god who governs the 4 seasons, who is a deity that has existed in Japan since ancient times. This new story of her was born while she was in charge for the script of the Sword Art Online Alicization Licorice DLC in 2020, right after the final volume of Violet Evergarden was published, and it was initially intended to be a self-contained volume, but a publisher's suggestion, and because of the addition of too many elements, the work took the shape we know today. Winter was once the only season in the world, but unable to bear such loneliness, he chose to cut off part of his essence to give birth to the season of spring. By Mother Earth's wish, he cut off part of his essence again to give birth to the seasons of summer and autumn. These deities decided to entrust their roles to Mother Earth's creatures, but none of them were able to fulfill the task. Mankind stood before the desperation, willing to perform their duty in exchange for peace, prosperity, and stability in its lands. The 4 seasons then granted their powers to a small group of humans, who, over the centuries, have been known by the name of Agents of the Four Seasons. Each country has its own vision of the origin of the world, but each agrees on the nature of seasons, day and night. Seasons are brought by the agents, human entrusted with this task by the homonymous gods, while day and night are brought by the archers of dawn and twilight. Their safety is threatened by the rebels, people who detest the seasons and the alternation of day and night. For this reason, agents and archers are protected by gods and guardians. The story focuses on the adventures of the agents and archers of Yamato, a fictional archipelago that resembles Japan. The narration begins with the return of the agent of spring Hinagiku, who was kidnapped by the rebels for nearly 10 years, during which the corresponding season did not manifest. Alongside her god Sakura, she heads to the southern island of the archipelago, known as Ryugu, where the two want to perform secretly the ritual to bring back their season. Heading towards the peak of the mountain, the two girls have to change their final location, but despite this, the manifestation is a success. Spring has returned. The continuation of the novel tells of the adventures of the other agents and gods and the new developments after Hinagiku's return. The Agents of the Four Seasons saga currently consists of 8 volumes and is divided in several narrative arcs, each of which has its own protagonists. The light novel has covered the arcs of spring, summer, autumn, and both archers, with the winter arc still being written and likely to conclude the whole story. The work is published by ASCII Media Works Imprint Dengeki Bunko and has currently sold more than 750,000 copies. Compared to Violetevergarden, Agents of the Four Seasons is being translated in 8 different countries outside Japan. The project has so much potential that it has not 1, but 2 manga adaptations, one adapting the spring arc, drawn by Napaka Matsuka, and a spin-off drawn by Yuriko Azami. You know, ever since I first read the novel, I've always felt it had enormous potential for an adaptation. The author's refined descriptions sound just like a soundtrack, and Suoh's illustrations appear like wonderful paintings. I won't lie saying that when rumors of an adaptation first started to spread, I was eagerly hoping it was true. Then, in April, we got an announcement. Since I care so much about the story, I prayed so much that the animation studio would be one capable of doing it justice. I considered dozens of studios, but I never thought it would all be in the hands of the one that worked on my favorite piece of media ever. Yes, Wit Studio is adapting Agents of the Four Seasons, and I have a few interesting things to tell you about this. The first one is that this is the first shoujo series in Wit's production history. The second is that IG Point Corporation, the company that owns Wit and Production IG Studios, has listed the project as a major investment in their business plan, something which not even the One Piece original net animation is labeled as. And the final is that the anime is coming this spring. I know, this news sounds promising, and I can't wait to finally see the spring arc adapted, but a good anime adaptation needs a good production team, so let's talk a bit about the people who have been selected for this job. On his directional debut for a TV series, it's Ken Yamamoto. Yamamoto has gained some notoriety for several works that he's participated in, such as the themes for the Amagami Sisters anime, Eve's Promise music video, and Pokemon Hisuian Snow. But Yamamoto's most successful work has been the Uma Musume Pretty Derby beginning of the New Era movie. If his debut could make you doubt about the quality of the series, don't worry, because at the animation advisory we have Kazuhiro Furuhashi, who has considerable experience in the industry, having directed many high-profile series such as Spy Family, Gundam Unicorn, the original Rurouni Kenshin, and the 90s Hunter x Hunter. In charge of the script, we have Hisawa Yumu, who has experience writing for Spy Family, Kono Ototo Amare, and I'm in Love with the Villainess. Another debut is Namiko Tori, who is in charge for character design that you can already witness from each seasonal key visual and promo video. Visual development and image board were entrusted to Satomi Maiya and Yutaro Kubo, while the art direction was entrusted to Yusuke Takeda, a veteran of the anime industry who has worked for Chainsaw Man, Vinland Saga, Kimi ni Todoke, and The Ancient Magus Bride. Ayaka Nakamura is in charge for color design, while Keisuke Nozawa is the director of photography. In charge for the editing, it's Keisei Yanagi, who has worked on series such as JJK and Scott Pilgrim. Sound direction was entrusted to Eriku Kimura, who has worked on series like Dan Dan Dan, Devilman Crybaby and Call of the Night, and on movies like Look Back and Ponyo. And it's recent news that the music composer for Agents of the Four Seasons will be the legend Kensuke Ushio, who has composed for huge titles like Chainsaw Man, Dan Dan Dan, Devilman Crybaby and A Silent Voice. A preview of the visual look of the anime can be seen in the production materials that the series' official account has been sharing. Each Wednesday and Saturday we get new contents that will be used in the adaptation, such as illustrations, backgrounds and props designs. While we don't have an official voice cast list yet, we can still expect Kimura and Ushio to deliver great sound design for the series, at least in terms of the original soundtrack. More information will be shared in the upcoming months, so make sure you stay updated, because this story is going to leave a huge mark in the anime history.